An excerpt from a letter to James Duane on September 3rd, 1780, pointing out the various flaws in the Continental Congress. I sit down to give you my ideas of the defects of our present system, and the changes necessary to save us from ruin. They may perhaps be the reveries of a projector rather than the sober views of a politician. You will judge of them, and make what use you please of them. The fundamental defect is a want of power in Congress. It is hardly universally acknowledged, and may however be said that it has originated from three causes: an excess of the spirit of liberty, which has made the particular states show a jealousy of all power not in their own hands, and this jealousy has led them to exercise a right of judging in the last resort of the measures recommended by Congress, and of acting according to their own opinions of their propriety or necessity. A diffidence in Congress of their own powers, by which they have been timid and indecisive in their resolutions, constantly making concessions to the states, till they have scarcely left themselves in the shadow of power. They want a sufficient means at their disposal to answer to the public exigencies, and the vigor to draw forth those means, which have occasioned them to depend on the states individually to fulfill their engagements with the army, and the consequence of which has been to ruin their influence and credit with the army, to establish its dependence on each state rather than on them, that is, rather than on the whole collectively. There is a wide difference between our situation and that of an empire under one simple form of government, distributed into counties, provinces, or districts which have no legislatures, but merely magistratical bodies to execute the laws of a common sovereign. Here the danger is that the sovereign will have too much power to oppress the parts of which it is composed. In our case, that of an empire composed of federated states, each with a government completely organized within itself, having all the means to draw its subjects to a close dependence on itself. The danger is directly the reverse. It is that the common sovereign will not have power sufficient to unite the different members together, and direct the common forces to the interest and happiness of the whole. Our confederation gives the power of the purse entirely to the state legislatures. It should provide perpetual funds in the disposal of Congress by a land tax, poll tax, or the like. All imposts upon commerce ought to be laid by Congress and appropriated to their use, for without certain revenues, a government can have no power. That power which holds the purse strings absolutely must rule. This seems to be a medium which, without making Congress altogether independent, will tend to give reality to its authority. Another defect in our system is want of method and energy in the administration. This has partly resulted from the other defect, that in a great degree from prejudice and the want of a proper executive. Congress have kept the power too much into their own hands, and have meddled too much with details of every sort. Congress is properly a deliberative corps, and it forgets itself when it attempts to play the executive. Without a speedy change, the army must dissolve. It is now a mob rather than an army, without clothing, without pay, without provision, without morals, without discipline. We begin to hate the country for its neglect of us. The country begins to hate us for our oppression of them. Congress has long been jealous of us. We have now lost all confidence in them, and give the worst construction to all they do. Held together by the slenderest ties, we are ripening for a dissolution. The Confederation, in my opinion, should give Congress complete sovereignty, except as to that part of internal police which relates to the rights of property and life among individuals, and to raising money by internal taxes. It is necessary that everything belonging to this should be regulated by the state legislatures. Congress should have complete sovereignty in all that relates to war, peace, trade, finance, and to the management of foreign affairs, the right of declaring war, of raising armies, of officering, paying them, directing their motions in every respect, of equipping fleets and doing the same with them, of building fortifications, arsenals, magazines, etc., of making peace on such conditions as they think proper, of regulating trade, determining with what countries it shall be carried on, granting indulgencies, laying prohibitions on all the articles of export or import, imposing duties, granting bounties and premiums for raising, exporting, importing, and applying to their own use the product of these duties, only giving credit to the states on whom they are raised in the general account of revenues and expenses, instituting admiralty courts, etc., of coining money, establishing banks on proper terms and with such privilege as they think proper, appropriating funds, and doing whatever else relates to the operations of finance, transacting everything with foreign nations, making alliances, offensive and defensive treaties of commerce and sea. I have good reason to believe that measures were not taken earnestly enough to procure a loan abroad. I give you my honor that from our first outset I ought as I do now and wish for foreign loan, not only because I foresaw it would be essential, but because I considered it as a tie upon the nation from which it was derived, and as a mean to prop our cause in Europe. Record. If you like this reading from Samwise J. Morgenstern, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You may also follow us on Facebook, tweet me at Samwise J. Morgenstern, also follow me on Tumblr. If you would like to support this show that I do, you can support me on Patreon at the link in the description. You can also simply support my podcast on Anchor. You can set up the plan there, and I will also have rewards for my patrons ranging from shout-outs to original short stories, just whatever might be there. Go there and sign up if you want it. Anyways, stay well, stay safe, stay home, and as always, follow the will of Blue Heaven.